As the colors change to fall, the shows just keep getting brighter on Global Voice Broadcasting. Shows about everything that matters to you, from love, living, and life. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it this fall on Global Voice Broadcasting. Don't miss a second.
I highly recommend Ms. Hicks. Her books, her CDs are encouraging.
I bought her book, The Hill to Climb. She's a very inspirational speaker.
And I look forward to one day being able to work with her.
Your power lies within you. Let it loose.
Aspiration, inspiration, motivation, edification, determination. These are the keys of life success, brought to you by none other than award-winning author, motivational lecturer, business consultant, and much more, as she gets you aimed to your purpose. And now, ladies and gentlemen, young and elder, from Hollywood to the entire world, here is your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, Louise Hicks, along with her co-host, yours truly, Kenan Wesley Mason.
Hello, world. How are you today? And welcome to our show, Aim to Purpose, the radio show. Here with my co-host, Kenan Wesley Mason.
Yes, yes.
And I'm Louise Hicks. And we have an exciting show for you today. And how was your weekend? I guess you all are gearing up for Thanksgiving because, you know, we are global. And here in America, we have our Thanksgiving holiday coming up soon. Within, I believe, a week or so. Is that right, Ken? About a week or so. So we're gearing up, and everybody's going to be eating all the turkey and traditional Thanksgiving treats here. But we have this exciting, dynamic show today. We have an exciting guest here, all the way from South Africa. And we're going to have a great show today where our topic is Women's Voices Rising, the New Feminine Wealth Economy with Sarah Jane Farrell. Let's go ahead and introduce Sarah.
Yes, Sarah Jane Farrell is a, quote, bush baby, born in Africa and fiercely wild, and yet powerfully loving at heart. She is a multi-sensory intuitive, a certified life design strategist, business wealth activator, international speaker on all things consciousness, and the founder of the Access Your True Nature Systems, a holistic energy-based healing modality that combines the latest cutting-edge tools in human design, from body talk and structural integration to the ancient wisdom of traditional Chinese medicine and equine psychotherapy, to name a few. She is a free spirit, wife, mother, tree hugger, and animal lover, a seeker, an explorer, and a water baby. Her greatest joy is to show people how to be happy just by being themselves and being the magnificent creatures their animals know them to really be. Her philosophy is simple. Your life is your creative masterpiece. Consciously creating your entire reality from the truth of who you are will lead you to your deepest freedom and fulfillment. So with that, we want to introduce to you our guest today, all the way from South Africa, Miss Sarah Jane Farrell.
Well, thank you. That was a mouthful for you.
Yes, and we're so excited to have you to Skype in with us today, Sarah, all the way from South Africa, where we are going to have a great conversation today with you. And in reading your bio, it says you're intuitive, and I love that. You're an animal hugger, and I see you have your animal little dog with you. So cute. I love it. And tell us about what is it that you are seeking here and bringing awareness and consciousness all about in terms of women's voices rising and the new feminine wealth economy. With that, what is true wealth? What does that really mean?
Oh, that's such a great question, and it's such a big one too. As you mentioned, I've grown up in Africa my whole life, and just when you look at it as a culture and a country, there are so many incredible women out there that are really bringing up children that aren't even theirs, and growing the food, and really the basics. Really getting back to the hard stuff of what matters. And it really is my target to redefine wealth, Louise, from a place of what makes you wealthy.
I'm loving it.
That it's not the latest gadget.
I'm loving it. It's not all about money, right? That's what you're telling us. Oh, continue.
Yeah,
I'm loving it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, a lot of people come to me and they say, well, it's not spiritual to have money. And my reply is always that I believe that it's not spiritual to not be able to put food on your table, to feed your children, to have basic necessities. And, that really is my target this year, is to get women's voices rising, to find power in the parable of stories. There are just so many incredible stories. I have a very dear friend of mine who is a photographer, and we climbed Kilimanjaro last year to raise awareness for women in Africa particularly, but on getting their stories out, because they're so potent and they're so powerful, and they're not being heard. So in my small way, that really is my contribution to hear these stories and to get women to step up and claim their divine birthright, which is really to be empowered, to know that they're making a difference and sowing those seeds of hope that, with literacy, that doesn't put food on the table, it's great. But really to just get back to the heart-based economy of what wealth is in my part of the world. And I think what happens all over the world really is to really shine a light back on women's roles and worthiness as that wholehearted living.
So true.
It takes a lot of courage, doesn't it,
it really does.
to be able to that.
Yes, it takes a lot of courage. And in fact, on my way to the studio this morning, I was speaking with a friend of mine who lives in Texas, and I'm here in California, and we are coming to you live from Hollywood, California at the Global Voice Broadcasting Network. And in speaking with her, we were talking about some of those same issues that we are discussing on the show this today, knowing that we are worlds apart. However, as women, we have so much in common because we are truly connected, not only as females, but as human beings. We are connected globally, and that's why we have this platform here, because we want to educate, empower, and bring a conscious awareness to the world to understand that we are all connected. And once we start sharing this harmonious dialogue, we can bring true love and understand ourselves and know who we are as a human being and as an individual, and see what we have to bring to our awareness. And I know you have some stories, and we're going to talk about some of the stories that you shared with me a little bit later in the show. And you talked about being intuitive. I love that, because I'm a very intuitive person, philosophical person, who believe that we all are unique individuals and we have our own unique guided thoughts. And that is what enables us to help each other to grow and to know who we are. And talk a little bit about you have these what's stopping us. And we know a lot of times we have fear built up in us, and we don't move ourselves forward. And that's one thing that you talk about that stops us from realizing what we are supposed to be, how we are supposed to be aimed to our purpose. So share a little bit about that one thing.
I'd love to. And firstly, I want to also just show my deep appreciation and gratitude for this amazing platform that you've created to get women to really come back to their hearts and to just know that they're not alone. As you were mentioning, distance is nothing now thanks to technology, and you don't know what lives you're touching with your show. And we as women, I think, are so busy caring, aren't we, for everybody else's needs, and we're taught so early on to really go into very self-deprecating ways as women, as a tribe. We're taught to apologize for everything and point out our flaws and cut ourselves with self-deprecating humor, and really, I think too, in the Western world, over-prepared to that point of absolute exhaustion and pile degree after degree. On the other side of things, where we're not on the land like so many women here, to discover that actually it's not the answer. And I think you really touched on that, Louise, when you said that is the wealth economy, that is the new feminine wealth economy, is the connection, to know that we're not alone, and to intuitively go back to the heart, go back to that space of just total knowing that together we are making a difference, and we're here as a supportive collection to celebrate each other's successes and hold each other up when we're in those moments that are hard and challenging. And for me, that's just so beautiful. And for me, I think we're all intuitive. What I've learned from animals, and not just the domesticated ones, I do a lot of work with the rhino and the elephant foundations and rehabilitation centers here, because I'm sure that that Africa's, as Mother Earth, as that beautiful goddess that supports us all, is fading. The landscape and the power of parables of the stories that were taught and passed down from our elders is disappearing in this sort of modern world. And that, to me, is all intuitive knowing is to really just trust what you know and go anyway, regardless of what other people are telling us, and all the belief systems and all the signs, the cultural mores and moralities, the things that don't even belong to us, that we have really gone into struggle with. We talk a lot about struggle here. I don't know if it's common in your part of the world.
It's common.
It's definitely common.
It's common,
yes.
and this is my son that's on the show with me, and we have a unique platform, and we do struggle. It's the same thing, and we have a global crisis here, and we all are connected in the sense that we do struggle with some of the same issues. And Ken can speak to some of that. When you talked about exhaustion, Sarah, you're so right. We are exhausted with all of the issues and things that are facing us on a day-to-day basis, and it causes us to be exhausted. But with people like you and the platform that we have, we are assisting others to start relaxing and come back to Mother Earth, as you said. We got to come back. We got to bring ourselves back, because we are over-exhausting ourselves to the point we are losing focus of who we are and what our true purpose is. And that intuitiveness is, like you said, when you know what you know. And I call it my Iona, my intuitive, operative, natural ability, because I believe this is something we are born with. We're born with an ability, an internal trainer, that if we stay focused and don't get misguided by all of the chaos surrounding us, we can find who we are and get that trueness and get within our own purpose of what we were brought to the planet and who we were brought here to be. And Ken, if you want to chime in and add something before I ask Sarah another question about
well, first off, do you prefer to be called Sarah, or is it Sarah Jane?
Well, my name is Sarah Jane, but I'll pretty much answer to anything.
I understand that because I'm called Lucille, Louis, Lois, Lewis, and I'll answer to it because if I know you're talking to me, I'll pretty much answer to anything. So it's Sarah Jane then.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
just out of respect, I just want to make sure I get, because I get my name mixed up all the time. It's either Keenan or Canaan or Kenneth or Kenny. So so I just want to make sure that I get the name right. And you're so right that here, especially here in America, more and more women are taken so far away from following their intuitions. We're in a conformist society where we're speaking on with just women right now, that they feel like they have to take on the entire world and put the entire world on their shoulders, whether it's with work or the children, or they work themselves 12, 16 hours a day, and they never take any breaks. They feel like they can't take any breaks, or they feel like they'll take themselves away from their time with their children or their spouse, and never taking time for themselves to re-energize or rejuvenate themselves so they can be better as days go on. I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but here, so many women have, I guess, been led to a point to where they've run themselves into nervous breakdowns and early illness for this belief that they can't use their intuitions to follow their own path into a better way of living, not only externally, but internally as well. So I'm glad you're bringing this particular subject, because you talk about the animal world as well. Animals, you're holding your dog in the picture here, they have no concept of what's going to happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday. They're only living in what's happening right now.
And they don't care.
And they have no care in the world of what's going to happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday. What's more important to them is what's happening right now.
That's it. And that's what we should be about. Go ahead, Jane, Sarah Jane, I'm sorry.
You just touched on the whole perfect power of presence. Because that's what we do. As we're the only race, I think the only species on the planet that doesn't stay present. We're leaving our bodies all the time.
That's right.
And when when you're talking about exhaustion, animals know how to conserve energy.
Yes.
When they're sick, they go and rest. They know how to listen to their bodies. And part of that disconnect that you were speaking of is really that, exhaustion, the ways that we numb ourselves down to, sitting in front of a television or working ourselves to death when we're actually not supposed to struggle. We're supposed to thrive. But we've lost touch with listening to our most greatest consciousness facilitator, which is our physical body.
Yeah.
If we didn't have a body, we wouldn't need the money.
Right.
We wouldn't need the food. We wouldn't need the nurturing. But the physical body needs to be nurtured. For me, it's always about nurture through nature.
Yes.
To get back to your true nature. What is your true nature? Well, your true nature is saying, stay with me, stay present, because this moment is all that we have. But we're always going into the past to try and make ourselves wrong as to when we think we got it right, or the last time we were happy, or we're going into the future and all these pico universes. We're extrapolating what futures could be.
Right.
And it really takes us out of the joy of being present, doesn't it?
It does.
It really does. And
And
you're so right, Sarah Jane. And speaking of that nature system, and I know you have this love for animals, as most of us do here too, and you talk about that access your true nature system. Talk a little bit more about how you can access your true nature system and what is your true nature system. I know you've touched on it just now with talking about us staying in the now and losing ourselves in the present and the future, and losing ourselves rather in the past and in the future. Talk a little bit more about your design of this access your true nature systems.
I would love to. Thank you. I've studied a lot, Louise, and I've also had my best experiences through my own challenges. You know, you talk about being exhausted, you spoke of being burnt out and having a nervous breakdown. 15 years ago, I pretty much grew up being different, the different child, the one that didn't fit in, and it didn't matter how much I achieved or how good I was or what grades I got or how I performed in sport. I was a synchronized swimmer, and I represented my country as the youngest swimmer to represent her country at 12. So I grew up in a world that was very convoluted as far as right and wrong or good or bad or who am I. You know, the identity was gone. So on the outside, I always showed up looking bright and shiny and like I had it all together. But inside, I was really dying a very slow death. And for me, it was labeled. So all the labels we collect and the diagnoses of not fitting in, because it's painful. It's painful. We're all wanting to fit. We're always wanting that connection. So I did have a breakdown it's about 20 years ago now, but I had a huge furniture manufacturing country. I was making custom-made furniture, and I was really out of congruency with my heart. I'd started this whole business because I'm very creative and I love to create things. And I lost all the joy. I ended up with a huge factory employing a whole lot of people that became my family. So, you know, when you own a company, you're always taking on, you know, the healer, the psychiatrist, the banker, the finance,
All the
advisor.
roles, you're playing them.
You really, yeah. And I just totally had lost my joy. And my body stopped me. It literally stopped me to the point where I totally went into liquidation and sequestration. I lost everything that I had as far as assets or properties. I lost everything, and I just felt so bad that I put, and I say that in inverted commas, 35 people and their families out of creating money because I felt I'd somehow failed. And it took me a long time to get to the space where I could totally forgive myself, and forgive the whole process of, wow, if you don't actually stay in your heart, if you don't actually stay connected to what you're here to be, like you were saying, Louise, that we all come in with this divine purpose,
Right.
and unique talents and capacities that only we can give to the world for a sustainable planet. And when you go out of that and you start going into lack and scarcity, and you're chasing the money and you're exhausting yourself, you lose your joy.
You do.
And
You really do, Sarah Jane.
and
You lose your
my
joy.
question is, what if you don't have to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough? I want women especially, and this applies to men too. We see so much breast cancers and autoimmune diseases are on such a rise at the moment. I've seen so many clients with Lou Gehrig's lately, and it's men and women. So, even though I talk about women as, the primary caregiver and the one that's pretty much holding the whole familial archetype and matrix together, it's happening across the line to men as well, because there's this lack of nurturing. We're disconnecting from what's important. So the true nature systems are really, for me, a combination of everything that I've learned through my own challenges. I always say, instead of looking at your challenge, go into the emotional part of it, connect with that, feel where it's showing up in your body, but then go into problem solving. Really look at, okay, what is this? Where's the gift? How can I change it? And more importantly, how can we turn it into a revenue stream in the new wealth economy?
Right.
Because that's when change really starts to happen. So my systems are really an accumulation of my life challenges and my experiences, and then a lot of ancient wisdom from all the modalities that I've studied, and a lot of cutting edge new tools that I'm getting downloaded a lot from the divine, from the earth, from the animals, to get people to know that they don't have to do this. There's an easier way. You don't have to struggle. There's an easier way.
You don't have to struggle, and,
Yeah.
and you're so right. And when you were speaking about the breast cancer, and we know that more men are showing up now with breast cancer, and your access system. Last month was Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we talked about some of those issues when we had Brenda Pierce on our show some time ago, and I know that you are familiar with very exceptionally dynamic woman, Miss Brenda Pierce, and
Yes.
your access, your true nature systems, the way you explain it, it really is, it has so much merit and so much truth to it, because that is exactly what we do when we don't take care of ourselves, and our bodies will break down, as you well know, because you've experienced it, and so have I. I've gone through that kind of not for the same situation, but those breakdowns in your body system when we don't follow through and do the things that we know are healthy for us and what's best for our own body. And we do feel guilty sometimes when we take the time and start reflecting on maybe we thought we let somebody down. But if we don't take care of ourselves, we know we cannot take care of anybody else. So it's really key to take care of yourself. And
Exactly.
we're gonna have to take a break. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a break. And when we come back, we want you to discuss with us those keys to living your best life, because I know you have such a wealth of knowledge, and like you said, wisdom is a lot of key to this too, and finding your true self through your nature system. And we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna come back and talk about those 3 keys to having a better life.
And on that note, we'll be right back.
Hey folks, it's Ken here. If you or someone you know around the world has a small business, organization, or foundation you'd like to share with the Aim to Purpose audience, showcase it here on our segment of the show called Small Business Monday. The opportunities for people around the world to browse, buy, and use your products and services are endless. We pre-screen all businesses, organizations, and foundations for legitimacy, but because this is a free community service brought to our audience, it's at no cost to you as well. You heard it right. It's absolutely free, and you don't have to pay 1 penny. How do you like that? You just come on down to the studio and tell the story of your business, organization, or foundation, and give it the praises and accolades you know it deserves. If you're in another part of the state or country, or if you're in another part of the world, you can easily call in or Skype in and do the same. So what are you waiting for? Contact the show's publicist, Shamika Brown, at www.divinebrownmedia.com. She can also be contacted at 1-818-533-8463. Or contact Louise Hicks at www.louisehicks.biz. She can also be contacted at 1-562-310-1495. Allow yourself to be seen by the global masses, and allow your business to shine and grow because of the global masses. It's Small Business Monday, courtesy of Aim to Purpose, the radio show.
Okay, we're back, and I'm Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, along with my co-host, Ken and Wesley Mason. And we're on the Skype line today with our special guest, Sarah Jane Farrell, all the way from South Africa, where we are discussing Women's Voices Rising, the new feminine wealth economy.
And before we move forward, Sarah Jane, you made a comment that women or men as well, but you don't have to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough. And being that you were speaking of breast cancer, most people, unfortunately, they do wait to have that breakthrough after they have the breakdown. And like you said, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that way. It's about the initiative that you do want something better and using that intuition to your advantage to move forward so you can minimize your breakdowns and have more breakthroughs without having so many bumps in the road, because this is what creates not only cancer but other illness as well. Holding on to emotional traumas and stress, which you may know that it creates a negative energetic flow within the body, which creates illness as time goes by. And if you don't have those breakthroughs soon enough, your body will, not maybe, not might be, it will break down, and cancer may be the least of your worries and issues. So the best thing to do is to know what you want and know what your passions are in life and go after them. It took me a long time to come to the cognition of how simplistic we can make life, that it can be a joy every day, that we can be prosperous without having so many pitfalls.
Yes, we can.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You're so right. And I think what you're saying too is the opposite of disease is easy, right?
That's
Or
right.
easy, and it's when you're out of congruence, you're going to the body follows the mind, so you're going to get yourself to a space that if you
Yes.
start to physically actualize dis-ease in your body. For me, that's what I love about what I do is it's a little bit of investigating into medical intuitive processing to really look at, okay, what was the core, what was the start of it? What was
That's
the
right.
seed that you planted where you started
That's
to
right.
get into judgment? Because for me, it starts with that primary addiction that we're all addicted to judgment.
Yeah.
Self-judgment. We're judging everything.
Yep.
It's this whole thing of this predator in mankind, just generally, that we've solidified this prey aspect into our psyche.
Yep.
That we can go to church on Sunday and give thanks and kiss our neighbors, and then on Monday, it's back to business.
Yeah, we're
from
back to
a-
being
you're
cursing
certain-
sailors and being drunk every day.
You're so
Exactly.
right.
I mean, these rabid dogs that sort of are devouring each other from a place that is just so not what we're supposed to be as humankind. It's the kindness that you
It's-
mentioned.
And the love
You know,
for each other, for
And the love,
humanity.
absolutely.
And that's what we need more of that. And what you said is so true about the body follows the mind. And
Yeah.
that's what we don't realize sometimes is why we have those breakdowns before we have the breakthrough, because the mind, the body does follow the mind. It's the same as what you speak. When
Yeah.
you speak positiveness as opposed to negativity, that's what you're going to get. But when you go around just thinking nothing but negative thoughts all the time, and you live this, your body is going to follow those same speech patterns that are coming from your mouth. So we have to really
'Cause
think.
our first line of communication is always energy. We're energetic beings. So yes, there's going to be light and there's going to be shadow, and there is polarized positions, but it really is about, I don't believe that there is balance, because even if you look at a cell, in order to maintain balance, we have misidentified it as that we have to maintain, which to me is like a flat line. If you look at us on the cellular level of the cells, when we have those judgments of ourselves, of that things aren't right, that things are not fair, we're making those cells elliptical, which is the start of disease.
Yep.
And if you look at a cell, it's constantly moving.
Yes.
And in a state of action,
Yes.
I like to say inspired action, to maintain its perfect position to thrive.
Right.
And I think that's so important to remember, is that intuitive process of going back to the heart. I always say, what's happened to our hearts? We've forgotten who we are.
Yeah.
Yes, we have, in so many ways. Now, what are those 3 keys to help us, Sarah Jane, to get back to that best life, so that we can have and get the things that we want out of life, to have that wealth? And you've already explained that wealth is not all about money. What are those 3 keys?
Oh, wow. You know what? There are three, but there's so many. But my top three probably are also to just remember that wealth or money is an energy too, and it loves to flow.
Absolutely.
So you can't hold on to it. You know, if you have to pay for something, it's back to that gratitude. So for me, I would say the first, the big one is have grace, have that kindness to yourself, the self-love that we were talking about earlier, is that you can't show up and be authentic if you're not being in that space of loving yourself, flaws and all. We all are perfect in our imperfection. So getting back to the grace of being human, the grace of what you do have, the grace of your own knowing, your talents, your capacities, to focus on not what's impossible, but what is possible here.
Right.
And to go into that questioning, not to get an answer, but just to open up the awareness of what's really going on underneath the emotions of the judgments, because the primary addiction is always the judgment, and the secondary one are all the ways that we numb ourselves down. So being addicted to perfection, or I'm good at that one, but
right.
being good at
all the negative notions that we can't do this or we can't do that, instead of embracing in the affirmative of all of the possibilities, infinite possibilities. There's nothing but space within this universe, and which means for every star that's in space, that means that's the potential for a possibility. And
Exactly.
and so for everyone that keeps themselves in the negative, they're going to have negative circumstances enter into their life or their existence, or in their life path. We do everything the total opposite of what we were designed to be.
And that is so true because of
You
the
said that,
conditioning.
yeah.
That's what it is. And Sarah Jane, you were saying that the grace is one of those keys, and we know there are several, but we want to get your main ones, the grace, and that the
Okay.
energy flows. You said the energy loves to flow, and we know that we don't have to chase money, because when you allow that energy to flow, money is going to chase you. So what's the third one?
Okay, so I'll just backtrack a little bit. So, back to the money thing, for me, it's never about the money. It's always about receiving. So receiving that you are worthy, receiving that you are meant to thrive, receiving that you are enough. Because when you're in a state of joy and bliss and gratitude, money comes to play because it loves fun people.
Right.
So,
Yes.
that is a totally different way of looking at abundance. And, what you were saying earlier about problems and negative thoughts. What if there were no negative thoughts? What if there were just thoughts? And I think Carl Jung says something about enlightenment is not a matter of imagining figures of light, but of making the darkness conscious. And I think that's really what you are creating with this platform, and what so many of us are really inviting us to be, is that in that space of vulnerability, so to speak, and fertile listening. Because when you can see the brilliance in another person, another woman, you cannot help but grow with them. And that to me is the way that it works. Women blossom when they're being celebrated.
Yes, we do.
And men thrive being challenged and appreciated. So that whole education system needs to change, because it's all based on challenge and critique and wrongness, and a different problem solving that's really about making the problems more, rather than seeing, well, what can we change here as a collective? What can we do differently, because the old systems and paradigms aren't working anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So the first key I would definitely say would be grace and gratitude. And the second would be vulnerability, because I think that's a word that we have also misidentified. And what if vulnerability is just allowing yourself, again, that permission to know your no's, to know the things and the places where you're limiting yourself, and really just stepping into that so you can get your deep yes. Give yourself full permission to be messy.
Yes.
Life gets messy. There's always going to be problems.
Always.
There's
Yes.
always going to be challenges. And what if that is the greatest gift of being human, is to know that if it wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to show up and be the expert based on our stories and that power of telling stories from a place of uplifting, through that fertile listening, uplifting people because you have gone through it. You have celebrated the losses and the grief and that you've gone through it already. That's the space that I'd love to invite people into. And you can't do that without being vulnerable, being able to open your heart or allow people to see that you're not perfect. I don't have all the answers. None of us do.
None of us do.
No, we don't.
As
And
you were
there-
saying
and there
earlier,
is-
there's
and-
just possibility, right?
And there is no one answer. Vulnerability exactly means that you're opening yourself up to whatever that may be.
possibilities.
The possibility.
Limitless.
We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but we can open ourselves up to the possibilities of tomorrow, which means that
Right.
we have to be vulnerable. And it's okay to be vulnerable. It doesn't have to be taken in such a negative context, meaning you're vulnerable to
As a weakness.
as
because
a
it's
weakness,
not.
exactly.
It's not a weakness. Vulnerability is a strength, really, because it gives you the courage to remove the negativity from your life and to realize that you have come into that conscious awareness, as you said, Sarah Jane, that darkness. How did you say that? Darkness brings you out of to a consciousness.
Carl Jung said that enlightenment is not a matter of imagining figures of light, but of making the darkness conscious. So it's about going into the dark, going
Yeah.
into the
Right.
dark, because that's where your gifts are.
And
That's
everything
where it
and
is. I
everything
love that.
and everything exists because it came from darkness first. I mean, if you plant your garden, you plant your seed in the soil, it's completely dark. It's completely in a black or darkness. We had a show a few weeks back about melanin and how the dark energy brings or births the light. So
Right.
so that's everything is rooted in darkness first, and then comes up into the light so it can be expressed and felt and enjoyed amongst everyone.
And it blossoms, and that's the beauty of
beautiful.
life and the beauty of us as human beings connecting. And we always want to get as much in as we can, and we sometimes run with the time. So what's the third element of this, your 3 key points, because we know there are many.
I would say honor and honoring of you. Like you were saying, the lotus is another one. You have to push it. It all starts in the dark. We don't say that we don't honor the light more than we honor the night.
Yes.
We celebrate the day and we celebrate the night. We celebrate the circles and the flow of life through all the stages of winter and the seasons. There's a season for planting, there's a season for harvesting.
Right.
And to get back into that natural circadian rhythm of all things equal, that I am no more important than the ant that's walking across my windowsill, and the ant is no more important than me.
That's right.
That's the space where we really begin to thrive and to celebrate our
And we all
uniqueness.
share in the space as well.
Yeah, and
all-
that's that honoring, isn't it?
right. It's
comes from
fascinating.
honor.
And it's an honor. And just like today, with you sharing all of this, the wealth of knowledge, that's an honor. It's an honor for us to have you here to share with us. And here we are with technology. We can connect across the globe. You're in South Africa. We are here in the United States, in California. And we are connecting, and we are bringing such positive energy to each other. And that's the beauty of life, when we can do this and connect. And you're showing these parables of how we are connecting, and that's another beauty of life. And with the you talked about animal archetypes, how they can assist us in stepping into our true nature. What is that about, and how, and what do you mean by the archetypes and having animals to help us step into our true nature?
Oh, now you're going to get me going, and now we're running out of time.
I
But,
know,
yeah,
but
just
we're going to
briefly,
be able to answer that.
That really is, animal archetypes are similar to any other kind of archetypes, but I just for me, that's where my joy is, that animals really show us, and that was the key we started with, was the allowance part. That allowance doesn't require any solidity, judgment does. And animals show us how to stay present. And I always take my clients through this. I have a beautiful process and program called I'm completely getting gobsmacked because I'm trying to hurry up, but
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Oh,
You're
no,
fine.
you're fine.
You're fine.
You're fine.
you're saying about being the diamond, are you the diamond in the rough, as you were saying with the lotus too, that we're all diamonds in the dust, but we still sparkle. It's about how to bring your facets out and how to come up and shine as that inspiration for other people. So I use animal archetypes to really get people. They're so good at mirroring. Horses, lions have taught me a lot of lessons, because lions really use their unique strength to become the best of their pride. So what we could learn from lion as an archetype is firstly courage. The word cour in French comes from Braveheart. And lion really show us how to use our unique talents and capacities, that there's nobody else like you on the planet. We're all individuals, and they teach us how, and we see similar work too in herds of horses and packs of dogs and wolves, that behind a leader there's always a dominant mare for horses that has qualities of wisdom and calmness and kindness, for example. And when you look at the pride of lions, they really know how to have each other's backs, if they are not.
You see
backing each other up. So the young female would maybe have the ability to be fast. So she would run in and she would take down the buffalo or the buck.
Right.
And she would need her team to come and assist her.
That's right.
So the wiser, older animals would come in and finish the kill.
Yeah.
So that they all eat. So win-win all around. And it's something that, really is not acceptable to me, how we discard our old ancient wisdom, our old people that have the power of parables, that have the stories, that have the cultural and the ancient medicine, the plant medicine, the old stuff. We've lost that. But
yes, say that again, Sarah Jane. We have lost the old stuff. That is why we have so much chaos. And I've never been to Africa. One day I do intend to visit Africa, the motherland. But that is one of the problems. We've lost it. And this is why we're having all the chaos now. And it's all about that wisdom that the older generation bring to us. They bring so much. And we've just lost it, and we've gotten so far away from it. And we have so many crises here in America. We are in crisis as a result of that. We've lost a lot of it.
I love when people ask me about nutrition and wellness and or psychological matters with my holistic psychology background. I love comparing our behaviors to behaviors in the animal kingdom, because like you were mentioning with the lions, the lionesses, when they're ready to make their kill for food, the female lions all become one solid mastermind. They're all communicating with each other from a distance. They're using their minds to they're collecting information from each other's mind. They communicate. They don't speak the way we do with linguistics, but they're communicating with each other. One lion is a quarter mile away to the north. There's another one a quarter mile to the south, and they're all in harmony to do one solid accomplishment. And they're they're showing this to their cubs. Their cubs are watching this. Mm-hmm. So when they when they become the adult, a part of the adult pride, they learn how to do it in such a perfected way that they will make very few errors along the way as they grow older. Human beings, we've gotten so far away from that aspect of living because we're so afraid to be vulnerable. We're so afraid of the unknown.
Yeah, and you're so right there that it's that connection. We've lost the listening. We've lost the intuitive, the subtle senses of listening.
Right.
You just have to look at elephants, for ancient wisdom. They're old. They've roamed the plains of Africa forever, and they're
Yes.
really threatened right now. I know with your wild horses and the wolves, it's the same thing. That is such ancient learning. They have so much to teach us,
Oh yeah.
but we're
yeah,
not
they have a
listening. It's
lot.
like that's where the knowledge. That is where we're going to get the sustainable planet.
Yeah.
The planet that thrives, not a planet that we're destroying and killing everything. And elephants show us that. That one can be millions of miles from another, and that earthy low rumbling of the way that they communicate. That in tsunamis they're pulling up our silly little stakes that we think we're controlling them with.
Right.
And they move to high ground, but we're not listening. We're not tapped into nature. We're not listening to the animals. We're not asking them what they know, just as we're not receiving that wisdom from our old people who have so much to teach us.
Oh,
And
they
this is
have
what
a
you see in
lot.
ancient cultures, like the
Yes.
Aborigines and the Sanskrit of the Bushmen here, is how to conserve energy, how to work as a team, how to be adapting to the environment in a space where everything thrives, that you don't take more than you need,
Right.
that you
Exactly.
are in reverence, and that there's an honoring there.
And
Oh,
use
yeah.
use what you have to your advantage, and know that whatever your surroundings are now, do the best that you can in those surroundings, and it will lead you to a better surrounding where there's better people, and that will bring you to more people, that will bring you to an even better place. It's always everything is always in constant motion, like you said about the cells earlier. They're in constant motion, looking for expansion.
And that is so true. And what you were saying about the wisdom, Sarah Jane, you have really adapted that wisdom. And I know, and in my life, I grew up around my elders, and I adapted a lot of that wisdom. And that makes so much sense for us to get back to that, because we live in such a judgmental society now, as we have talked about before, where we are looking externally a lot rather than looking internally, and stop being so judgmental of not just ourselves but others as well, and start connecting with each other to share the wisdom as what you're doing here. And we are connecting across the globe, and you're giving us so much information on how to get the best life and how to live our best life. And we're going to take another commercial break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk some more with you about how you're helping others to find their way and continue to realize there are limitless possibilities. We just have to go inward and bring it out of us. And we will be right back.
This edition of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, is brought to you by L. Hicks Consulting Services. When you want the best in business coaching, life coaching, or perhaps your organization, business, or company is in need of a dynamic speaker for an upcoming workshop or seminar, contact Louise Hicks for L. Hicks Consulting Services at 1-562-310-1495. From anywhere around the world, that's 1-562-310-1495. For more information about Louise Hicks and her consulting services, visit her website at www.louisehicks.biz. Again, that's www.louisehicks.biz. Or call 1-562-310-1495. L. Hicks Consulting Services, where professionalism is top priority.
We're back, and today we're with our special guest, Sarah Jane Farrell, all the way from South Africa. I'm Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose, again with my co-host, Kenan Wesley Mason, who is also my biological son. And Sarah, when we...
Sarah Jane, what part of South Africa are you in?
I am in Johannesburg, which is the Highveld, and I live here, and I live some of the time in Cape Town.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, great. Yeah, I'm glad Ken asked that question because we were saying South Africa, but we didn't say what part. So Johannesburg, and sometimes you're in
Cape Town.
Cape Town. Oh, great, great. And what a wonderful experience we are having here today, and you sharing all this wonderful information, and we thank you. And we have about 5 or 6 minutes left in the show, and we just want to get in as much as we can before you leave us. But with all the good information you're sharing with us, Sarah Jane, we are hoping that you're going to come back, because we'd love to invite you back, because you have a wealth of knowledge, and I know you're working on different programs, and we would love to just have you back to talk some more about some of the other awesome things that you're doing and bringing the women voices together here. I just love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It would be my absolute privilege.
Oh, great.
In wrapping up, what would you like to, you have focusing on women's voices rising. What can you tell women about how they can keep their power? Because we did a show about domestic violence, and we see here in Western culture that too many women give their power away and have no inkling or clue how to gain their power back. So what words of wisdom can you give to women, not only here in the States, but globally, because this is something that happens all over the world? What can women do to, how can women get back into using their intuitions to know that they're more powerful than domestic violence, or they're more powerful than their 9 to 5 that they hate waking up for, and they're more powerful than whatever circumstances that they believe is keeping them from being their best self?
That's a great question, and Ken, and it's a big topic, and I'm so glad that you're raising awareness on that there is a different way, because I know what it's like. I was in a very verbally abusive relationship, and I know what it's like when someone's telling you you're stupid and that you're no good, and that you won't last 2 minutes out there on your own. There's so much fear that comes up for us, and I think this is on so many levels something that touches all of us at some point, that that we're not supposed to be here, that we're not smart enough, and that there is no way out. It's very hard to get out of that when you're on your own. And I just want to remind women out there to know that they're not alone. Call in the reserves. I think that is so important, is to call in community. And the Lions would say to you, if your pride's not working for you, find another pack.
Yeah, right.
It's just like you want to run with people.
I love it. The courage of the lion, huh?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
exactly. Right. And meerkat, they're funny little creatures that live in holes here, but there's such a sense of community. And I think that when you are in an abusive relationship, I know for me, it was one where I was totally separated, and I felt like I couldn't get out. And a lot of times you can't. You're cut off from your support system. But don't stop. Find a way. Call in the reserves. Know that there is help. There are so many amazing places and support groups out there. Find somebody to help you. Don't think you have to go through it alone. And allow yourself to have those people reflect your brilliance, remind you who you are. And just shine.
Or just be vulnerable. Be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable. Exactly. And that's so true too, Ken, because how many times are we in the shame? I know Brene Brown studied shame for, she's a shame expert, and yes. I always find light, and I think that that's an important part too, is for me, is to laugh at myself, laugh at some of the choices that I've made rather than become a victim of them. I think having a sense of humor is funny.
Absolutely.
And even if you're crying, if you could turn it into laughing at your own stupidity, and I don't mean being stupid, but cutting through consciousness of what you knew.
Laughter is
you
healthy.
did it anyway. No, I shouldn't be doing this, and you go anyway.
Yeah.
Is to just laugh, have a sense of humor, and and just receive it. Choose to receive, because the shame, I did all my work in the field. I always say I'm a shame expert. I do a lot of work out there in the field, and I know what shame is.
Yeah.
Oh, I do
But
too,
there's
Sarah
nothing to be
Jane.
ashamed of.
It's not. You're right, and I know what you're saying, and that's a lot of it. We've held in guilt and shame and all of that, and as women, now we are coming into this awakening consciously, knowing who we are and realizing our power. Thanks to platforms like this and what you're doing, bringing women into the awareness of what true wealth is and raising our voices to help other women and connect their power and understand that you don't have to give away your power. Not at all. And that's a great thing that you're doing. And I know I wanted to just ask you something quickly here, because it's a Cape Town person, and I know you connecting with people all over the world, helping and sharing your wisdom. And they said something that you had done, and I just wanted you to quickly elaborate because we are running out of time. They said that you got them clear on the old vows of poverty and not being seen, and step into me as my most valuable asset. So that I thought that was so beautiful what they had written, how you had helped them to take away those vows of poverty, because that's what causes us to struggle. And that was so beautiful. One of your clients, I guess in Cape Town, had said that, and another one about being paralyzed. And you have helped people all over the world, and even someone here in the United States talked about how you had activated their energy. So you are just moving and changing lives, and that's a beautiful thing. So maybe we need to summarize. I think we are kind of running out of time here. And why don't we have you to just summarize within those issues that I just talked with you, that I just read back to you about your clients, and just give us a summary of how as women we should continue to raise our voices.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for the feedback, because as we said earlier, you don't know whose life you're touching with your show, with one word of kindness, one act of vulnerability, of grace, to just step in. And that's really where I start, is going back to remembering who you are and clearing any oaths or vows or swearings or belief systems, things that we've taken on as ours that actually aren't. So just to remember, who are you, and who does this belong to? Every time a thought or feeling or emotion comes up for you, to notice, whose is it? Is it even yours? Or were you assigned it? Were you issued it?
Right.
Is the struggle even yours? Because now really is the time to release and cut and heal those core patterns, so that you can really be that quiet observer, as we were talking of, that fertile listening, where you can start to grow from those strengths and capacities of challenging situations, and of places where, you never thought you were going to get out of it. So to be that creator of your own reality, and recognize that I think the odds are 1 in 400 trillion of you turning out to be who you are. And when you truly embrace all of you are, that is such a miracle that you're even here. That is miraculous.
It is.
Yes.
So every challenge, every hardship, every trauma and drama and emergency that you think that makes you somehow less than, or that you have to be ashamed of, it really is time to cut those emotional attachments to the story, and to step into owning the power of them, so that you can raise consciousness and be the catalyst of change as only you can. That's the reason that we are all here, as our own individuation, to be individuated and go back to the heart and know that you matter. So I just encourage women and men everywhere to just drop into your heart and really ground your very being into your physical body, and just open up to everything that's available to you, and know that you're not alone, that you are totally supported by the universe, and that you can have anything you want. And I love assisting women, and I love assisting people to come back and know that they are brilliant, they are beautiful, shiny diamonds. And when you start to commit to follow your heart, and cut and release the people that are in your life through any situation that are not contributing to you having the success and the bliss and the desires that are yours, then you can really start to step into a whole new way of being.
And that is so true. And we thank you so much for coming on the show. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, how do they do that? And then we're going to wrap it up.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. They can get hold of me at Access Your True Nature, and that's yourtruenature.com. And I would be happy to speak with them or open some dialogue or assist in any way. I am giving away some free 30-minute discovery sessions around claiming your diamond cut brilliance, and I use archetypes and everything just to see where you are, what's stopping you, and who you're becoming, and how to get there. So if anyone is interested in that, I am happy to serve, and I would love to give more.
And
so thank you so much, Louise and Ken.
Access your true nature, accessyyourtruenature.com.
And that's ACCESSUR truenature.com. Is that correct, Sarah Jane?
That is absolutely spot on.
Okay, then.
Perfect.
And we thank you so much, too, for coming. And we'd like to invite you back sometime in the future. And thank you. And with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. And as always,
as you always say at the end of every show,
have a great week ahead of you. And remember, your power lies within you. Let it loose.
Until next time, folks.